Hi guys, Shooting Full of Holes here today, and today we're going to talk about saddle hunting. Now if you don't know what that is, it's basically you put on a sling or a saddle and you climb up a tree and you swing off of it for 3-4 hours. It's the best way I can describe it. No, I suggest you look at a couple of videos and do some research. And this is definitely a beginner's perspective because I've only been doing this for a couple of months. So there's a lot of changes and things I had to figure out. So as a beginner, I hope to help you with some of your decisions and hopefully make this a little more painless. So there's three main things you need to figure out. You need to figure out if saddle hunting is for you. If you have private land to hunt on and you have tree stands set up, this is probably something that wouldn't benefit you. This is more for public hunters and people that really get deep into the woods and need something a little bit more manageable, more mobile, like this setup, where taking a tree stand is definitely not an option. Taking on a climber is also maybe tough, although some climbers, weigh about 10 to 15 pounds now. So it just depends, Second thing, you need to decide whether you want to go the DIY route, where you're doing it yourself and making your own saddle, attachment and whatever, or you want to pay for things, because there are companies that do make tree saddles, and some of them are pricey, and it's kind of a new sport, so it's not going to be cheap anytime soon. Third thing you need to figure out is, how do you want to get up the tree? There are so many different variations of getting up a tree. And what I've gathered is a lot of people use kind of leftover stuff. So they have leftover sticks from, let's say, their lone wolf stands, or they use parts of their lone wolf, climbing stands, etc. Stuff like that. There's people that just use ropes to get up a tree. It just, a million different ways. Also, if it's like your private ground and you just want to saddle hunt anyway, some people use the spikes. I mean, there's just a million things. So you need to figure that out. Now, I'm just going to go through the basic stuff of what I did to get into it. What I decided to do was order a sit drag from Amazon. Now the sit drag, I think sells for about $35 or so. But you do have to modify it. And, I wouldn't say you have to, it's up to you. Once you start getting into it, you start figuring out you need this, you need that, and etc. I've basically used every component and part from the sit drag. My main sit drag is here. This is the actual sit drag itself with the loops. And what I've done is I've used part of one of the straps, actually one of the straps. I've made 4 loops here and had them sewn on the sit drag. I use one of the other belts from the sit drag, or straps, and I've changed that into a belt. I found a buckle that fit the strap. When I say I had the stuff sewn, I had to pay a shoe repair shop to sew the stuff. They have the machines and threading and all that stuff. The other thing is the thread that they use is really high tensile. So like all this stuff after it's sewn, you can't. I mean, I don't know how much weight it could take, but with all 4 of them and whatever, I'm pretty sure it can take my weight easily. I've had a 1-inch strap sewn along the top and the bottom. And roughly given it about 2 inches between the stitching to give it loops so I could hang accessories off of it. The other thing that I've done is I had them sew this 1-inch strap with buckles so I could buckle these around my legs. So what I realized really quick is I wanted my sit drag to stay in a certain position. It had to be just below the waist and had to stay there. So these buckles that go around my legs stop it from creeping up, and this waist buckle stops it from going down. I decided to make my bridge out of Amsteel, and this cost me like $10. To get it sewn, it cost me like $40. So I mean, you know, we're slowly but surely getting close to the $100 mark with all this stuff. Now, why Amsteel? There's some very good videos out there. G2 is a very good channel. The DIY Sportsman is another very good channel. So I learned a lot of stuff from those guys, and I definitely, you know, encourage you to go watch their channels, because especially G2, he really teaches you how to do the Amsteel stitching and stuff like that, make your bridges, and a lot of other information. Really, really good stuff. So anyway, the reason why I chose Amsteel was because G2 made a video where he tested, you know, the 1-inch strap, bungee cord, or parachute cord, Amsteel, a whole bunch of other stuff, and you basically cut them with a broadhead just to see what would happen, you know, in case if you're hunting and you just happen to nick your bridge. So very good test, because it made me realize that I had to change what I had as a bridge. I had 1-inch webbing or strapping as my bridge, and not very safe. So anyway, Amsteel, I decided to go with a 40-inch bridge. The longer your bridge, the less hip pinch. The tighter your bridge is, the more it wraps around you and kind of tends to pinch you. For me, I found out the 40 was right about where I wanted it and felt comfortable for me. There are people that don't like a fixed bridge, that'll have a, you know, movable bridge with a prusik and all sorts of other stuff. If you're not so sure, I suggest you use a lineman's rope with a carabiner and a prusik, and that way you can kind of use that as your bridge until you figure out what length you want your bridge. Anyway, I bought these dump pouches for like $10 each from Amazon to put my ropes and whatever else I needed to, you know, have when I get up the tree. The other thing that's a very good investment was this HSS rope hoist. Very, very useful, because once you hoist your bow up, bow hoist. Once you hoist your bow up and hang it, you can just, you know, wind the rope away, and that's out of the way. It's not bunched up. It's perfect. It's ready for it to be used again. So, might weigh a little bit, but it's worth it. So, I'm going to show you what it looks like on. And I normally put this on before, you know, I go to the tree and have it on me. So there's my belt, and that's the reason why I have these loops, and I like it loose like that, so then I can maneuver it the way I want to, and, you know, have it spread out the way I want to. So this is what I was talking about, that it had to be just below the waist, a certain area, and I have these straps in the middle strapped around my legs to keep it from riding up. There we go. I can make these tighter or looser depending on what clothing I have on, but I never put these buckles on when I'm walking to the tree stand, and to the tree that I'm going to be climbing up on. And the reason is exactly that. You see how it pinches there when I lift my leg up? It really stops it from walking freely. So this way I can do whatever I want, you know, and then when I get to the tree, I'll put the straps on. Anyway, so this is the basic setup. I have my tether rope here on the right, and I have my lineman's rope here on the left. I decided to use HSS or hunter safety rope. It's definitely made for things like this. It's very tough. I've used all the carabiners from it too. So, and the Prusik. So my lineman's rope, I've got carabiner and Prusik. Make things a little bit easier. So now some people will go to a thinner rope. I like having a thicker rope. It just makes it feel more comfortable. So there it is around, you know, let's say that's around the tree, and I can move it however I want. And that's what I was saying, that if you're not so sure about your bridge height or length, you can use this to make it shorter, you know, and figure things out before you decide to, you know, put a solid bridge on. So there's one idea for you. I always keep it attached because I don't need it to be loose. So this always goes here, and it's always attached. Never losing it, always there. You'll notice I have these small carabiners, which are cheap. They're not really for, you know, weight rated for anything. I've got these little Prusiks, and I got that idea from, actually quite a few guys use this, but this is actually the strap that they supplied with the sit drag. It goes around your back to give you back support, and so far this is a decent strap. I like it so far. So I'll use that and unclip this here, just clip it, and then I can move my Prusiks up or down depending, you know, how tight I want that strap around my back and what I want it. So that works perfect for that. That's what that's for. And so as you can tell, I've not, you know, thrown away anything from the sit drag. Basically everything from the sit drag is in use somewhere, and which is great, because then that's less stuff that you have to use and buy, and, you know, everything else. Then my lineman's rope, my tether rope, I use same thing, Hunter Safety's rope. And this is actually the part that you tie onto the tree for, you know, when you use it with your tree stand. So all I did is I made it shorter, and I use a piece of the rope to make a Prusik. And the reason why is because when I already used that black Prusik here before, but it tends to bite really hard. Whereas this one makes it easier to release the Prusik, but it bites decent enough where, I mean, it won't let you go, that's for sure, but it makes it easier for you to loosen it up. So I recommend making a Prusik knot out of that. Here's another carabiner. So tether that around the tree, then hook my bridge up to the carabiner, and there we go, done deal. So that's my basic setup for my saddle hunting. Now, in the beginning I was using my Hunter's safety harness in conjunction with this, but I've become pretty accustomed to using this sit drag as my saddle, and I have full confidence in it. You know, everything is weight rated and I know what I have on it, so I'm basically relying on the stuff to keep me safe. And I do, you know, it's all decisions that I've decided to make, and I do trust it. One of the other things that I've done, which a lot of people will do, some people will sew the loops. I decided just to use electrical tape. It just seems easier and more beneficial for what it is. And it definitely helps having the loops down like that, because then you can slide and move things the way you need to, and you can also see what's happening. So that's my setup for my saddle, and I hope some of the little tips and tricks would help you. Now, one thing I'm going to talk about as a tip is when it comes to the Amsteel. You don't need to buy tools to, weave your Amsteel. You can simply use some painter's tape, wrap it around the rope, and give it a bit of a pointed tip. When you basically push the rope together, it'll spread all the fibers, and then you can fish this through those fibers just carefully. You don't want to snag fibers and stuff like that. And there you go. So you can bury your rope, do everything with this. You don't need to buy extra tools for it. And when it comes to stitching the Amsteel, because you can only weave one side, and the other side you have to bury it and stitch it. And that's what I did on this side. And I forget what the stitching is called. If you watch G2's videos, he knows the names of the knots and everything. So he'll really help you out. But what I used was a 50-pound test line, a braided test line. And it was green in color, so that works perfectly. And what I did is, it's 50 pound, you double it, it's 100 pound. You double it one more time, it's 200 pound test line. So that's what I did, is I basically doubled it a couple of times and had 200 pound, test line that I could use for sewing. Pretty much any needle, and I used that to sew this quite a few times. I went through a lot of times and made sure that was 100% secure. So now you'll notice that this was the color of my Amsteel. I ordered green. I didn't realize it was bright fuchsia green, and so I had to stain this. But luckily I had some leftover saddle stain or leather stain. I think this is black, and so I stained the rest of the Amsteel, and that turned out pretty decent. So there's a tip for you. Now you'll notice I'll have this strap kind of strapped to my belt, and that is for this. I decided to, after watching a couple of videos, to buy a Lone Wolf climber seat, just the seat part, which is pretty expensive. It's definitely not cheap. That was $150 by itself. Now the reason why I wanted that is because it's my platform and it's my means of getting up the tree. This is what I use to climb. You put that on your feet, you use your saddle, so you tether yourself, you basically, swing on your saddle and then lift your legs up and climb. And then do that again, and that's how you keep on, climbing up the tree. And I like it because it's 2-in-1. It's my climber, and it's my platform. Now, I've used everything from the Lone Wolf stand that came, in the bags and everything. You'll notice that I have the pad here, and I'll tell you what that's for in a minute. I also have a bungee with this. So these straps came with the Lone Wolf climber, or climber seat. So this is, I used one for my feet, so I could put my boots in there. And this is what goes clipped to my belt, right here. So it's always tied or tethered to me. And the reason for that is if for any reason my feet slip off of this thing, this won't fall to the base of the tree. It'll just go a foot or two, and I can just bring it back up and have it hang so I can put my feet on it again. But the other thing that I use is this bungee, which I basically bungee, to the back end of my feet. So my feet go here, the front end of my feet, and my back end of the feet go here, and I get strapped. So it's really secure. And then any movement I make with my feet, this will, mimic also. I had to zip tie the ends of this, or else it flops. And so when you move the platform, with your feet, it would move and wouldn't make, the strap loosen. So I zip tied that. Some guys will do a bolt mod and zip tie, etc. And that's, you know, for you to figure out. For now, this works for me. I really love this because it's really light. The way you can move the strapping, you know, out to adjust for the width of the tree is awesome. It's super fast, super quiet. I like that. And now one of the things you'll notice is that I have this ratchet strap hanging from it. And the reason for that is that when I climb up to the height that I want to hunt, I will set up everything, my bow, my bag, and then the last thing that I do is I'll take this pad out of my backpack and I'll loosen my tether. Sometimes I'll put my my lineman's belt around the tree, loosen my tether, and put this pad here and put my knees on this, get down on my knees, so that I can strap this around the tree and ratchet strap it really tight. The reason for that is that once this platform is strapped in, I can put my feet on the side and make any movement I want, and the platform will not shift. And that's what it's mainly for. I also like the security factor of it, you know, feels really solid. But don't make the mistake that I did, where I used the hooks from the ratchet strap that were steel, and I hooked, you know, on each side over here, and I, you know, ratcheted it pretty tight, and then I stepped on the ends of something and it cracked over here, which is crazy because the stuff was really well built. But anyway, I eventually fixed it, and that was a whole little nightmare, but it's good now, so everything's functional. Now the other thing that I do is this bungee. I take off this bungee, and then so once I strap it, I take off this bungee and use this pad, and I will strap this pad around the tree, or to the tree, with this bungee. And that is what I can put my knees against, so that way when I'm, you know, tired or just want to relax a bit, put my knees up against the tree and feel more comfortable. So I've used everything that came with that stand, with that climber. And this pad, I'll tell you, is 100% awesome. It's just right. It's soft enough, it's tough enough, and it's very lightweight too. So everything here has been multi-purposely used. It also keeps my, and like I said, I take this, you know, off and I put this in my bag when I get to the tree. But it also helps keep the strap quiet. So I'll have it like this. Couple of turns, put that through here. And there we go. Nice, neat little bundle. Alright, so I hope you got some ideas from this setup, and I hope this video was able to help you. If you've got any comments and questions, please put them, and I'll definitely try to answer them, help you, whatever. And like I said, if you've never gotten into this stuff, you know, as a deer hunter, and you know, you really want to be mobile and light, and you want to get into places that are tough, this is definitely something you need to look at. So it's something that has definitely changed the way I hunt and the way I look at you know, climbers and stuff like that now. They have their uses, don't get me wrong, it's just depending, you know, what situations. But this will really broaden your ideas, you know. So anyway, hope you liked this video. Thanks for watching, and like I always say, go out in the woods, put up a target, shoot them full of holes.